Thanks for checking out this video on the new Terra Moons Cosmic Chameleon eyeshadows. In this video I'll show you how they look, how they swatch on the hands and on the eyes. I'll do a quick comparison on a few other chameleon eyeshadows that I have, and then finish with my final thoughts. I will do some videos soon on some UK indie brands doing multichrome eyeshadows and do a little comparison. If you want to know more about Terra Moons Cosmetics and my shipping experience from the UK, I'll share a link here and in the description box where I cover this in a previous review of their glosses. I thought it might be interesting to show you how they look as I open them and add them to my palette. You can also see how they look against other types of eyeshadows from Terra Moons. I also decided to share a few things I learnt behind the names of these shades. If you're interested to learn more, I'll share any of the available video links in the description box below. These shades are usually available to buy on pre-order and they can be bought separately or in a bundle. There's two, so they're either in the LUNAR Cosmic Chameleon collection or the Solar Cosmic Chameleon collection. I'll show you which ones they are as I go through them. The first shade is called Antares, which is named after the star. Apparently it's the brightest star in the constellation Scorpius, and it has Greek meaning rival to Ares, with reddish hues similar to the planet Mars. It's meant to be a coral pink chameleon with green and gold shifts. This next shade is called Gamma Ray. Gamma Ray bursts being very high energy. They're one of the brightest things you can observe in the universe, definitely one of the most distant objects we've ever observed, apparently not long after the Big Bang. Gamma Ray was named after the third letter in the Greek alphabet, and it was the third type of radiation that was discovered by physicist Ernest Rutherford. This shade is meant to be a reddish bronze with a hint of green. This shade is called Inertia. It's an interesting name for a multichrome. Given from a physics point of view, it means something that resists any force upon it, so it won't change its state, direction or motion if it's travelling. The shade is meant to be a grungy green chameleon with orange and gold shifts. The next shade is called Daybreak, referring to the sun first appearing and rising into the sky at the crack of dawn. It's described as a baby yellow chameleon with red and gold shifts and a hint of blue. This shade is called Counting Stars. I can only imagine this reflects something very sparkly. I know that there's many songs with the same name. One Republic comes to mind. This shade is a light blue chameleon with purple and green shifts. This shade is called Sun Scorched, I think referring to the sun's burning as a bright star. Fun fact, its temperature is around 5,000 to 6,000 degrees Celsius. The sun's temperature and pressure is the reason why nuclear reactions happen in its core. A good name for this shade, as it's described as a bronze orange greenish chameleon. This shade is called Supernova, well known as a powerful bright stellar explosion when a star collapses. The Latin word nova means new, and it refers to the way it can look like a bright new star, with super showing how massive it can really look. It's amazing how they look at such a vast distance using telescope imagery. Being anywhere near it is unimaginable. This shade is described as a teal blue chameleon with gold and orange shifts. This next shade is called Ceres, which I think refers to the smallest dwarf planet recognised in our solar system. And it's the largest object in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, and one that's been observed and studied a lot. In ancient Roman religion, Ceres was the goddess of agriculture, grain crops, fertility and motherly relationships. In ancient Rome, she was celebrated in a 7-day festival during April in Ceres, which was like a Thanksgiving celebration during that time. The shade is described as a muted blue-grey chameleon with gold and lavender shifts with a hint of green. So I got to the point where I ran out of space, so I decided to shift some of my red shades into another palette, just so I can keep the Cosmic Chameleons together. So excuse me, I'll fast forward. So moving on, this next shade is called Artemis. I think this refers to NASA's lunar exploration program, where NASA's mission is to land the first woman and next man on the moon by 2024. It sounds quite exciting. They're using innovative technologies and they want to build sustainable exploration to take what they call the next giant leap, which is sending astronauts to Mars. Artemis is the Greek goddess of the hunt, the wilderness and wildlife, as well as the moon and also chastity. She's also Apollo's twin sister, which makes sense why NASA chose her name. The shade is described as a teal green blue with hints of gold chameleon. Next shade is called Helix Nebula, after the planetary nebula located in the Aquarius constellation, with helix referring to a spiral-type space curve. This shade is described as a deep blue-purple chameleon with gold, green and orange shifts. And the last, but definitely not the least, is the Reign of Terra. Sounds like a signature for Terra Moons, with the Latin name Terra translated to Earth, and a little play on words with the Reign of Terror, which is well known for the period during the French Revolution. It sounded very gruesome. But luckily the shade isn't. It's described as a violet-blue chameleon with blue, orange and gold shifts. So that's how the Cosmic Chameleons look close up. As always with multichromes, you often see much more when you swatch them, which the pan doesn't always show. So here are my swatches. No primer used. So those are the new Cosmic Chameleon swatches. I'll swatch a couple of the existing Cosmic Chameleon shades that I have against the new ones. I have 3 existing shades: Moontide, Solstice and Orion's Belt. Moontide is the most similar finish to these new shades, whereas Solstice and Orion's Belt are a lot flatter and the shifts are less noticeable. They're more like shimmers or maybe duochromes. The shifts in these new shades are really impressive. I can see the multichromes a lot more. I'm now going to show you how they swatch on my eyes. No primer used. How they look on the eyes. I'll show you a look I tried, using a couple of these along with other shadows like mattes, just trying to see how they blend. How it looks when it's blended with other shadows. I think it's pretty good. I used the iHeart Revolution Tasty Avocado palette, as those eyeshadows are very different formulas, so they're both blended pretty well. So for my final thoughts, sometimes you don't know if popular brands or products are overhyped, but honestly I do think these shadows from Terra Moons live up to it. The shadows are fairly soft, but not too soft in the pan. They're very pigmented and the blending is so easy, you don't even need to blend much to apply it. I think shades like Inertia with a darker base may need a slight bit more blending, especially if the skin around your eyes are textured. Specks of the darker base could look slightly noticeable, but the payoff is amazing, which you hopefully saw from the eye swatches without a primer. And there was very slight, if any, fallout, which I find uncommon with pigmented shadows like these. I'll definitely do a comparison with other multichromes. They could be expensive if you add on delivery costs, especially if you're in Europe or another non-US country, but if you're able to afford it, I definitely do recommend them. Especially these new Cosmic Chameleon shades, they really are getting better. So those are my final thoughts. Do stay tuned for some future multichrome comparisons, and in the meantime let me know what you think of these shadows. Any favourites? Let me know if you have any favourite Terra Moon products or if you have a wish list. Comments below, and thanks for watching.